Hi, I'm Gemma, and this is a chat with Gemma. So, today I was going to talk about people making fun of us. So, everybody when we grow up, people make fun of you. Parents make fun of you. Certainly your siblings, if you've got any, make fun of you. Other relatives maybe make fun of you. And I have even had an uncle that used to make fun of me, and I'd get very embarrassed. And we have to learn to deal with that, don't we? Because, it is part of life. It does happen. And then we go to school and we go to work and so on, and people at different times make fun of us. And if you've been made fun of as a small child in such a way that it's been pretty relentless and kind of merciless, it can have caused a very deep wound, of course. And so children can be really troubled by this and carry that forward into their lives. And so when they're adults, there's this deep hurt, perhaps a feeling of not really belonging, that sort of thing, having to defend themselves. I know when I was growing up as a child, and my mum would make fun of me sometimes and sort of get my brothers and sisters to kind of gang up against me, sort of thing. And I can remember thinking about it once, and being a very analytic sort of person, I kind of thought, why not just not retaliate, not just water off a duck's back, why not let it go? And I don't really know, but it was like as if I felt like I had to kind of go like this and defend my being, that somehow they could get the thing that makes me me. And is it, one's pride in oneself or one's soul, or I certainly didn't know then. But I just knew that I felt very strongly that I had to kind of, defend myself, attack back, in other words. And it used to upset me quite a lot. But I would never cry, because I would think that would give the other people a weapon against me, that my mother would be able to see, oh, we've got her, show a weakness. So I never cried, but I used to, it would come out in anger. So that's how it would come out. And I noticed that going forward into, this doesn't come up every day. It's not every moment of the day. But just let's say, somebody does or says something to you at work, it would kind of like, I don't know, it was like, remember those old firecrackers that we used to have, and you'd probably younger people have never used them. We used to just light a match and you'd light the fuse, and hopefully you would let go of it before the thing got down to where the powder was, and then it would go bang and whatever it would do. It was a bit like that with me. So, it's like somebody lit the fuse, and then and I would sort of start. I wouldn't obviously explode like that, but I felt like exploding. So, one contains oneself usually in the workplace, but I would get very upset about it and feel like, oh, it's happening again. They're attacking me again, and it just used to spark me off. And I think if you've grown up as perhaps an only child and everything's been quiet at home and nobody ever did any of these things to you, and, just treated you like you were the golden boy or the golden girl, and did nothing but, tell you how fantastic you were, you might not know what I'm talking about. But I think anybody probably with siblings of some kind, or even relatives that share a house with you or something along like those lines, or you've gone to school and found that at school it was different to home and you were made fun of. And again, it depends on if people are making fun of you in a sort of a let's all laugh together way. You learn that if you don't sort of just go along with it, you kind of come across as being a little bit immature or something, don't you? But there are situations where other children can do it, not quite in that way, but in a sort of a more, really having a jab at you kind of way, and that becomes obvious to the victim. And I'm sure we've all done it to other children, and, you look back in your childhood and you think, you sort of have regrets and think, oh, that poor, innocent, harmless kid, and I made fun of them, and now I feel brokenhearted because, who knows what that did to them, or, you sort of think, well, they absolutely they didn't deserve anything like that because they weren't, maybe were a little bit simple and didn't really know what was happening, and later on maybe they got it and then felt hurt, and you sort of think, oh, what did I do that for, But we've all probably done that. And it's like those dodgem cars, I think, that in life we just have to learn to ride those dodgem cars, don't we? We're going along and somebody rams into the back of you or the side of you and you weren't expecting it, and then, you ram somebody else, and, life is sort of like that you occasionally there are these banging into other dodgem cars. And I remember a story that my dad used to tell, and he used to laugh at the story. And it was about my gran, his mother's brother. So Gran's brother couldn't say his R's, so he would say wabbit for rabbit. And everybody would go, wabbit, wabbit. And he'd say, I'm not saying wabbit, I'm saying wabbit. Ha ha ha, and we'd laugh at him, But the thing is, though, my dad would laugh at slightly different things from me sometimes, my mother too. And I used to think, something just a little bit uneasy about that story for me. And then later on in life, I was much older, and Gran told us the story of how when her mother died, she was only 12. Her older sister was 14, and the youngest boy in the family was 4. So I kind of thinking, I hope this wasn't when he was, say, at 6 or something. He'd now lost his mother, so he had that eternal heartache of where's his mother. And also on top of that, mothers usually run out and tell other kids not to make fun of the baby, don't they? And, leave Gerald alone or whatever. No mother to do that. So the older kids would have just had free rein to have at him. And that makes me just so uneasy, because that's just heartbreakingly sad, I think. And so perhaps you've been deeply hurt that way, and I'm so sorry if that's happened to you, because honestly, no innocent child deserves it. Nobody deserves that. And it is mean, and it is hard to get over. And it doesn't mean that you're not mature because, you haven't gotten over it. And people do sort of behave like, you're still making a fuss about my saying that to you 3 years ago, are you? Well, you're entitled to whatever feelings you've got, and however long they take to heal is however long they take to heal. And that's none of the business of the person that hurt you. And oftentimes, as I say, there's something else going on, with us. So a little child that has no mother has a deep wound inside that's just always there festering. And so some little slight to them can be just feel devastatingly hurtful to them. Whereas another child that's more robust and has a solid family life, both parents are alive and healthy and they feel confident in themselves and they're being, affirmed all of the time at home, things can kind of brush off them more easily. So you don't know what that person's got, in their mind, in their heart, in their body. And they might just have every right to take a while to get over that. And, it's probably good to go back and say sorry if we are able to, because a lot of people we don't meet again, do we, that we knew in our childhoods. But if it's a sibling or something like that, I suppose we could say, I'm sorry that I bullied you when you were young. I hope that's not still hurting you today, or I hope that doesn't affect your self-confidence or anything like that. And you have some people that have all sorts of fears of things, and a lot of people sort of even go to psychiatrists or probably psychologists for this problem, where they've got to, perhaps as part of their job, do public speaking. And so for that person, if they've got to get up in front of people and give a talk about, teach everybody about something, they're throwing up beforehand. They can't sleep the night beforehand. And most people are quite nervous before doing something like that, but they don't have anything like that amount of nerves. And again, that can go back to perhaps being made fun of in the classroom by the teacher, or made fun of in the school grounds by other kids, and it, not being quite a sort of healthy, probably bullying's never, or making fun of somebody's never really healthy, but it's not just something that you're able to just let roll off you. And so when it comes to something like public speaking, the person's thinking, oh no, I'm in this situation now where afterwards everybody can tell me how badly I did, or maybe somebody will call out to me in the middle of it and say, oh, you're doing that wrongly, or that's wrong, or something like that. And their whole self-confidence will just crumble like a paper doll, because it's hanging on by such a thread already that's just so tenuous already. And that's a terrible, thing. And so I would hope that if you had any of these sorts of problems, going back to the root being made fun of, that you would get some help, because I really feel sorry for people in that situation. It's just so sad to me and so heartbreaking that somebody can go forward in their life still having that sort of feeling of terrible hurt. So even if it means just going to your church and having a little bit of church counselling or some healing prayer or something like that, sometimes that's enough for these sorts of things. Some people get quite a bit of healing if they get the right person. You don't want some crazy person who's trying to cast 10 demons out of you or something like that. But sensible people, you know what I mean. You know how to find sensible people. It can be quite effective. So, yeah, and hopefully then go forward from this point, like starting anew. So from this point going on through your future life now with a different, maybe a little bit of a harder shell, the bumps and the scratches from the Dodgem cars can't hurt you as much. All right, hope you're well, and best wishes with anything like that might be going on with you. God bless. Bye-bye.